Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
When you do what you love, like CrossFit, coaching, or running a business, you want to do it for life. Inside Tracker can help. Inside Tracker was founded in 2009 by leading scientists in aging, genetics, and biometrics. Using their patented algorithm, Inside Tracker analyzes your body's data to provide you with a clear picture of what's going on inside you and to offer you science-backed recommendations for positive diet and lifestyle changes. Then Inside Tracker tracks your progress every day, every step of the way toward reaching your performance goals and living a longer, healthier life. If you're a coach, an affiliate owner, a trainer, a registered dietitian, or any other health and wellness practitioner, Inside Tracker has launched a new program for you to offer to your clients called Inside Tracker Pro. In addition to helping your clients optimize their health and perform better than ever, you'll also get discounts and earn revenue. Plus, you'll get free access to the Inside Tracker Pro Educational Resource Center and a free personal coach dashboard for secure access to your clients' Inside Tracker results and recommendations. Inside Tracker Pros receive a 50% discount to experience Inside Tracker themselves. Earn revenue, enjoy discounts, and help your clients perform better than ever with Inside Tracker Pro. Visit insidetracker.com/Coach Jason Ackerman to get started. We live in a day and age where it's very easy to get distracted. Your phone, people pulling you in different directions, people telling you what you're doing is not the right decision, the right path. And it's always important, Fern, to know your values and to know your why you started something in the first place. And we're talking whether it's an affiliate owner, a coach, or even just a member at a CrossFit, people are going to try to pull you away. And it's not always haters. Some people are doing it with the best of intentions. You know, do personal training, try this new program, whatever that looks like. And the people that are
We should do a kettlebell class.
Right. Let's do yoga, have a, whatever it looks like. But the stronger you are attached to your why and your values, the easier life becomes because none of that is distraction. Like distraction to me means like it diverts my attention even for a second. You know, I'm not distracted by social media, for example, because it doesn't go off on my phone. So when I go to look at social media, it's very intentional and purposeful. Same should be true about people trying to pull you away. It's only going to distract you if you acknowledge it. And if you're so ingrained in your why and you understand it to the point that it lives deep down inside of you, like it does for you, Fern, like it does for me or Katie, then you're never going to get distracted.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because this concept of like, what is your why? It typically lives on, I don't think it's done very practically well for the vast majority of people. So it's either this very surface level exercise or it seems so all encompassing and so rigid that nobody even wants to try to go down that path. And that's why I avoided it for so many years, because I was like, the way it was pitched and the way it was taught was not appealing to me, meaning it didn't really have any true teeth on it. Like it was just kind of like, you know, the core values thing is another one that can get really bastardized. And it's like, I got your core values. And it's like, okay, what do you do with those? Like you've got them, you wrote them down on paper and I'm sure it feels good to have done the exercise, but is it really something that you can sink your teeth into? And is it really something, you know, same as your why that you could use as a tool to make significant or even insignificant decisions, no matter what the scenario would be? And I think this is a tough one, but if done right, this can be a really good catalyst to get can almost on almost any business, but specifically box owners, because there's a unique struggle for box owners, because, and it's that, like, I want everybody to do CrossFit. And that in and of itself is a, in air quotes, problem. It's not a problem. It's not a bad thing. You want to help people, but it can be the thing that drowns you as an affiliate owner.
I agree with you there. And I think when you say, like, hey, this drill, this exercise, I mean, part of it, the why behind it, I think a lot of people, Simon Sinek made it famous, right?
Like, you have to get past the, like, why. What's the why behind doing the why, right? Like, it sounds like a weird conversation, but you do have to because nobody's going to do anything if they don't understand the why behind it, right? So, like, this is a weird one, because before you determine what your why is, you have to really unpack, like, why would you go through this process to determine it, and what would the outcome be? Which sounds weird. Is you could do the why for the why. It's like, okay.
Yeah. And for reference, I recommend that book. I think it's a great book. I've read it and I've listened to it. So there's no, bad choice there.
Start with why, you mean?
Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
That one's it's a little different, right? But there is, because that one is for the company. It's for a product, kind of
entrepreneurs, I would say, though.
Right. It's a great book. I'm not discounting the book. Right.
There's other great ones too. And I want to say this, and this is really just a plug to get people over to our YouTube channel, but I have a way that I figured out my values in the past, and I used to do them in person, a deck of cards, etc. I have a great link that we will put only on our YouTube channel, Katie, on this video. So we'll drop it there. And if you've never done some sort of value exercise, it's got its limitations. It's online, but it's better than not doing it at all. And like Fern said, like I've said, when you know those values, it does, in my opinion, make decisions easier. And you can have two. You can have your personal set, and you can also have your business set if you own the affiliate, or if you're a coach and you have some different values. But I'll give you an example. My top 5 values are health, family, excellence, meaningful work, and loyalty. Those are my top 5 values. And the reason I, bring them up is because that way, when things come up in your life, you run them through those references. So when I'm sitting with Madison, and whether it's my phone rings or Katie's trying to book a call for me early in the morning, it's very easy for me to be like, no, because that's time that's devoted to her. Right. But it becomes a slippery slope, right? It becomes like, I'll do it today. Then it becomes Katie's like, hey, what about this Wednesday also? All right, I'll do that one too. Right. Because meaningful work is there as well, but it's below family. And so is excellence, right? To me, doing a great job at something is just as important, but it's below family and it's below health. And I think when you look at things through those lenses, it makes your decisions easier. That's not to say perfect, but I think a great start is at least understanding your own values, because most people will tell you these are my values, but they've not actually dug and tried to understand them.
Yeah, and I think you can get too rigid with it where...
Sure.
Right. Then it becomes, almost... And there's nothing actually fully wrong with this, but like I found that if it could be so rigid that it starts to not resemble anything that would be reasonable. Right. I think if you can get real crazy with it, be like, nope, I'm
anything to an extreme, right?
And I've seen people do this. Where like, nope, I don't. The weekends are off limits, and I'm like, well, you're running a business, so the weekends can't be off limits. Like, sorry,
I don't. That's 25% of your week,
right? I'm like, you need to get out of here with that. Like, now you can create boundaries around that and how to do it, but like, if something important comes across your desk, I mean, like really important, then you need to deal with it. And they're like, well, I just don't do my email on the weekend. I'm like, well, today you do emails. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, but there always balance, right? And again, I think the whole purpose of determining your why specifically helps guide you through the big decisions, the big forks in the road, those potentially catastrophic scenarios that go one of two ways. Either go really well or they go really, really poorly. And I think that's important. And most affiliate owners don't do that because, if we were to go through, every affiliate owner story ever, it's just like, I was at a gym, I was unhappy, I left there, we got a lease, now I've got members. And we skipped a whole lot of stuff prior to that, a lot of stuff. And That's important because a lot of the things that we end up working with people on are a result of that. They're problems that exist due to a lack of understanding why they're doing this. That it allows them to create the necessary boundaries and necessary confidence to have things like a pricing structure or what services they offer, or, do they do PT in their gym? And I know all this stuff sounds silly. Or do they offer punch cards? Like, all of those scenarios can come back to and should be able to be, even if it's a little bit convoluted, pointed directly back at that, so that you can solve these scenarios that you're going to be found face to face with as an affiliate owner, and you can really unpack them and feel confident in what the answer is and why you came to that answer. I said no to that. Well, why did you say no to that? Well, because they told me to. Well, that's not a good answer. Or because I just felt like I could do it. Also not a good answer, right? Understanding why you're making decisions has to be rooted in something, and it can't be like, I want to help people. You can do that any way you want, right? Like, that's not good enough.
Well, but it goes back to a point you made recently about punch cards, right? Like, if you're going to have punch cards, why are you doing it? I would say this. Most box owners will tell you their why has something to do with, well, I enjoy helping people lead their best life, right? And I think that's kind of a cop-out, to be fair. Like, if your why is the same as the box down the road and the box down the road, that's a problem, right? It needs to be unique to you, and you probably need to put a little more thought into it than like, well, everyone on social media these days, you go on and it's like, I help people in their 40s who have a, addiction to cigarettes change their lives. And it's like, that's bullshit. Like, you would help somebody without an addiction to cigarettes, wouldn't you? Of course I would. Well, then that's not why you do this thing.
Right.
But, and it goes back to, well, if you truly want to help people, you broke it down recently. A punch card doesn't do that. A punch card actually does the opposite. So now you just look at it through the lens of, okay, does offering a punch card actually stand behind and help me deliver my why? Cool. No. Okay. Next.
I think this is worth unpacking because this is a good one. So, because somebody who's listening to this is like, this is garbage. There's no way that you could like tie punch cards back to this scenario.
Of course you can.
So let's do it. So, so we will go with industry
challenge
standards.
us. Challenge accepted.
We will go industry standards. Okay. So what is the standard expiration date, if any, on a punch card?
I was going to say, if any, in the CrossFit world, but if anyone has an expiration date, it's probably 90 days.
90 days. Okay. So by far, that is the most likely answer that you would get on that. Okay. So let's unpack that. And then I'll ask a different question. What is the standard number of sessions that would go into a punch card?
10 sessions, $150.
10 session, $150. So this really terrible idea has
other listeners are like, are they looking at our website right now?
I'm like, no, you're just not original. Like, we know how this works. We've been doing this a while. So, okay. So now let's do the math on that. So, all right, I've got a 10 session punch card, and it wouldn't be, and this is not rare for somebody to not use all of those.
Yeah. I would say
in 90 days.
What percentage do you think actually use the entirety of their punch card?
I don't know. Percentages are made up, particularly in this scenario. So let's just go with 64%.
I was going to say 75. So let's meet in the middle. We'll call it 70%.
Okay. So
that's accurate. That's
69.
legit.
Take 69 would technically be on the
69 and a half.
Yeah. Right. So
that's what I promise my wife every Saturday night. 69 and a half, baby. And that half. So, Katie, earmuffs. All you got to do is say earmuffs. Katie does.
So nobody knows what Jay's talking about. But okay. So let's do the math on that. So let's just say that they're going to use the 10 sessions over 90 days. Well, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure that out. One session every how many days, Jay?
That's a tough one, but I'm going to go with 9 final answer.
9 final answer. Good. If you want to phone a friend, you can, but I will take that as a correct
My
answer.
only friends are on this call right now. So
right. So what is 9? We'll go with that. So yeah. So every 9 days you would see this person. Okay. Now, so let's just take what we know to be fairly accurate. This is not a ridiculous scenario. This is not uncommon.
The CrossFit is 1 on, 9 off. Is that correct?
1 on, 9 off. So, okay. So we've got the scenario punch card now. And then we go back and be like, hey, what's your why? Be like, hey, I want to help people to get fit and healthy. Okay. Let's just say that was somebody's their why. I'm like, okay, cool.
Great why.
It's not a bad why, right?
Yeah.
I think you should be a little bit more specific, but but now let's match that with what we know about this scenario. So you want to help people get fit and healthy, right? And so now the argument becomes, okay, now we have a conflict because what you're saying doesn't match what you're doing. And what I'm doing is I'm selling something to somebody who's going to come in once every 9 days, which we know, and people are going to argue this, which I think is ridiculous because they're going to come up with a bunch of other scenarios. They're like, well, they've got other stuff going on. So the argument is that once every 9 days of training is beneficial for this person. Okay. Which if you want to have that argument, that's fine. I'm not even going to argue it. You're just going to sound silly, right? Regardless of what your angle is, we can agree that it's not. Even if they are doing other things, they're not regularly in the gym. You don't get to see them. You don't get to, put eyes on them. You don't get to gauge what their mood is or any of that stuff on a very regular basis, and nor does your coaching staff. So now what we have is a conflict because what you're doing in this scenario is not in the best interest of the client based on what you said you wanted to do. And the rub here is that you've convinced yourself that selling them this thing is financially beneficial for them. At which point my contention is this is like, actually $150 because you want to make the sale is actually for you. But what you've sold them is something that is not actually beneficial for them based on your why.
Like, repeat the why, Fern.
Their why? Yeah, I
Yes.
want to help. I want to help people get fit and healthy.
Right. So in this situation, wouldn't you say the better response would be like, hey, if you're only going to show up here once every 9 days, let me help you find a place, a protocol, something that's going to allow you to work out 3, 4, 5 times a week. That might be P90X in your garage because you have 4 kids and you're only getting, or you travel a lot and you could do burpees anywhere. But what you said is true. It's like you've gone against your why. And if you do that too many times, it becomes very easy to do it. And then like a year later, all of a sudden you look around your affiliate, you have 100 people you don't like. And maybe that's a little far-fetched, but it becomes like, it's one of those things where one little decision here. Go ahead.
It's the death of 10,000 cuts, which is these little tiny things.
That's what I was going to say, Katie. It's the death of 1,000 punches. Is that what it is?
Yeah, we can call it the death of 10,000 punches. So
it's less than 10,000 usually. But
but my point is, because we were trying to make a sale, we made a sale that was not in the best interest of the client based on the why. I don't want to say it's disingenuous. So let's just say it was not rooted in actual logic.
You say vitality, I say health.
Fair enough, right? So in that scenario, those things are in conflict, and my contention is always like, you should not sell that to that person. You should not sell them that membership because in no way, shape, or form does that match your why. And we both know it's not going to yield any sort of positive result for them. Okay, which is
at best, it's $600 a year in your pocket.
Okay, which is fine. But again, that's for you. That's not for the client, right?
Right.
And which is, and people are going to throw any sort of they travel, they're doing this other thing. And my contention is
help them get better at that other thing.
Help them get better at the other thing. Like you should, if they're trying to run a marathon, you should help them run a marathon. If you have that skill set, if they're going to do a swim, I'm going to swim the Boston Frogman.
I can walk on water
in June, right? Yeah, I'm gonna swim the Boston Frogman in June. So if somebody's doing that, well, then if you have the ability to help them, you should help them with that versus sell them this other thing. Because what's typically done is, okay, I concede that they don't want to come in, or they said they don't want to come in this many times, and so I just sell them this punch card for the sake of making a sale instead of asking the question, what do you want? Like, I really want to do the same. Well, I can help you do that, but it doesn't involve coming in once every 9 days. And my responsibility and what I owe this person, if in fact my why is I want to make people, fit and healthy, is to dig deeper on that and give them an appropriate solution that may or may not involve training with me. And that's okay.
Just think about it. Like, imagine if you only trained CrossFit once every 9 days, because you would just be sore once every 9 days forever.
In perpetuity. It's just as your soreness kicked off, you would go get another dose of DOMs, right? Like just continue forever.
You mean, look, if someone's training for the Frogman, and you and I have close friends that have done it, that trained CrossFit, but the point is, okay, well then educate this new person as to the value of it. Hey, if you can get in here twice a week, we can really help you. These muscles are going to get tight because you're swimming, etc. And also
or you don't need to swim 4 times a week. You actually could do very well with swimming 2 times a week and doing some other that would be more endurance-based training. And you don't need to swim, these, thousands and thousands of meters. You needed to do a little bit more technique work, at which point I would refer you to a swimming coach, because you could put in half of the amount of time and get 3 times the amount of return off of that. But again, the whole point is, if that is in fact my why, I should be making that decision on my why. And we run into this all the time working with affiliate owners, where this becomes a problem. And I'm like, that doesn't match. What you're doing does not match. And it's typically not done intentionally or maliciously. It's done just out of lack of awareness. Because anytime we expose people to going through this and really kind of start to connect the dots on how this actually plays out inside the affiliate every day, there starts to become a lot of clarity with regard to like, well, what I'm doing doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to stop doing that. Like just selling anything that wouldn't lend itself to get the client getting positive results sounds silly.
Yeah, that's the big takeaway. We're bashing punch cards. Look, if you have someone that truly travels 8 out of 9 days and they're going to other affiliates, and this is the one time they're home, by all means, have a punch card. We're talking about the fact that most people, most of the time, are not actually doing that. And
we're not talking about this super unique scenario that you have that you're
you're right. We're wrong. You went on the internet. But this can also be true. I mean, that's an affiliate owner situation. And there's dozens of those presented to you every single day, by the way.
Open gym on Sundays.
Yeah. Open gym, yoga. I need this new piece of equipment, all that stuff. But also this is true for CrossFit trainers out there. Like, I think we get at least one message a day, like one a day of a trainer upset with their owner and some of the decisions that the box is making. Well, cool. If it doesn't live by your values, if your owner is making decisions that you don't agree with, first of all, Man in the Arena, go read that, right? Like the Theodore Roosevelt, there's something to it. Like, easy to throw stones at the guy running the thing. So if you're a CrossFit trainer, back off for a second. Your affiliate owner is trying their best. So, I want to make sure we are both affiliate owners, right, Fern?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Katie, noted. See how I did that? Tricked him.
I played along.
But you're not married to your affiliate. So what that means is, if you work for Fern at CrossFit Rife and he's like, hey guys, by the way, the 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and 9 a.m. every day, we're going from CrossFit to Zumba. I need you guys to go take that Zumba certification or whatever, try to become a level 4 Zumba instructor. You probably aren't going to stay there very often. But it's like that death of 1,000 punches, like Fern said. Hey, first we're doing Zumba. Now we're promoting, this diet. Now we're telling people they don't need to sleep. Like, I'm being a little facetious, but it becomes, you can see how it becomes a slippery slope. If you're a coach, make sure the affiliate that you're at lives by your values. And I would also say, before just jumping ship, because Ackerman told you to, talk to your owner. They need feedback. They often don't get feedback. It's often that they're surrounded by yes men, whether done purposefully or not. Talk to them. Have a candid conversation. They will thank you for it. And if they're not the type of person that will thank you for that, well, that answers your question.
Yeah, and I think if we haven't kind of unpacked the why for doing what is your why, and I'll also be very candid about this. You will probably not get the value of it or / get it right the first several times you do the exercise. Like, this is something that really requires you to be very candid with yourself, to go a little bit deeper than you'd like. It'd be uncomfortable for you if done correctly. And then it's not even something you have to share. I don't think it's something you have to share, but if you want to share it with people, I think it can be very, very beneficial. But here's the deal. It should hold up to scrutiny. And this is where I think a lot of the more shallow versions of that, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. It just does not. Like it takes one or two questions before this thing starts to fall apart or doesn't make sense anymore. And that's where I think it's not supposed to be easy. You know, if you telling me that you quit your job because you want to change people's lives, and that in pursuing that endeavor and really finding out the why behind that is going to be easy, I'm here to burst your bubble. Like, it's not going to be, and it shouldn't be, because that's an audacious endeavor that you decided to pursue. So it should shed light on the fact that, like, maybe I should put some time into this. Maybe I should spend a little bit more time, like, figuring out, like, why the hell I'm doing this and what I would like to get out of it. And I think that's part of something else that people miss too, is that they leave themselves out of the equation. They're like, hey, it's okay if your why involves you getting some benefit out of it. And everybody always immediately goes to money. Okay. By the way, money's not bad. But if you're telling yourself that you're living your why, but you're not happy, guess what? Something is not in alignment, or there's a disconnect somewhere. And your why should make you happy, by the way, not bludgeon you on a daily basis.
You know, something you said there, it's like, I agree with you. Like, so many people just never reflect on their own why. Like, just finish this episode and just take 10 minutes, like, set a timer and just think about what you want in this life: family, friends, financially, work, for your own health. Like, those are things there's absolutely nothing wrong with. And I would tell you this, Vern, I know you, myself, and even Katie, like, none of us are here right now for the financial gain. Right? We're here because it's our why. Like, we look forward to getting on phone calls with affiliates. We look forward to coaches development. We look forward to talking about this stuff. Now, just
for the record, we were doing this before it was ever a business. I would have and did a ton of coaching for free. I would have worked on seminar staff for free until they were like, hey, we'll pay you. And I was like, even better, right? There
almost everyone on seminar staff would continue to work for free. If CrossFit came to me, the other 200 people on seminar staff, like, guys, we're really hurting. We want you to keep working. By the way, we cannot pay you anymore. I would guess, again,
I tell you what,
percentage-wise, I would say better than 90% would show up every week.
I don't know about that. People got bills to pay. But here's the point. Almost everybody, I think, would contemplate it.
And at least short-term, say yes.
Right.
Maybe not forever.
They would contemplate and be like, that doesn't really work for me because I have a life and family and all these other things. However, I'd be willing to do it. Right. So that is the point, right? I'm not saying that you would, because that's just to some degree a math equation. Be like, well, I have to eat food. So,
well, and you run it through your values. Like, if I told Roz, hey babe, you know how much I love coaching, right? She'd be like, yeah, I know you do. Cool. I'm going to go do it for free. I'm going to leave you in Madison every weekend. She'd be like, no, you're not. And then I'd be like, okay, I have to look at my values again. Health, family, right? Meaningful work, lower down. She might be like, you get to go once a quarter. I know it's important to you, but it's probably not every weekend. But something you said earlier, I think box owners, this is like one of my biggest pet peeves. Hey, you're never going to become rich. You're never going to make a lot of money. You're never going to be a millionaire, whatever that looks like, owning a gym, doing CrossFit. Maybe it's true. I don't think so. I think maybe I'm an outlier and I've, bumped all of those, notions, but none of us started this for that reason. When I opened Albany CrossFit in 2007, literally my goal was to make $36,000 that year. I was like, if I can make $36,000 doing what I love, this is fucking awesome. Like, that was it. Now, 10 years later, having a sale of the business and doing some other great things, cool. Don't feel bad for making money. In fact, if you're not making money, you're probably not able to live by your why for very long.
Yeah, that's what we've said this many, many times, is that passion has a shelf life. And if you're not getting those things in alignment, that shelf life, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah, what keeps it burning is money.
Well,
not literally, but like when you're getting paid to do it, you're more motivated.
There has to be, and this is something that I think gets left out of the equation most of the time, which is like it should be, and this is what we always try to pitch when we work with affiliates. I'm always trying to dial up a win-win-win. It shouldn't be like my why is what somebody else gets, and then I just a martyr. And it shouldn't be well I just get to rob people because I like money and screw them. Right. It should be mutually beneficial. And if we're going back to, a previous episode of like, what is the best hour of their day? If you're pursuing excellence, people will seek it out.
It also costs money to pursue excellence.
And it will be worth money if you're really good at it. Like everybody who's listening to this has something that they value outside of the fitness world that they will gladly pay lots of money for. Right. And I say lots is relative based on the person and how much money they have. But the point is like you will seek out something and you will pay for it because you find it to be valuable. That's the point. Right. And it's just, you don't have to feel bad about it. If you are really great at your craft and you understand what your why is, then you have no problem making a living. And we've talked about this before too. If better me, better everyone. And that's the why, right? Which is like, I want people around me to be happy. Well, that requires you to be happy as well, because if you're miserable, well, nobody else is. I mean, unless people just hate your guts and they like to be around you and make you miserable, and that's what makes them happy. But then I would suggest you just get new friends. But the point is, there does exist in this world where like some degree of selfishness is required in order to be selfless. You cannot just be this person that gives and doesn't get anything in return, whether it be just that's the type of person that you are, that like that's gratifying for you and that fills your cup, which allows you to have this energy that you can keep going, or whether it's like, hey, I'm doing this and therefore it has monetary return for me, at which point I can continue to do this because it is a career for me now, and I can keep going and I'm happy about it because I'm getting what I need out of it. And I've got this perfect marriage of like, I'm great at this thing and I can make money at it and it makes me feel good. Congratulations, you've won the lottery. And people are like, you can never be a millionaire. And I feel like what they're saying is like, you're never going to be happy because the only thing that matters in this whole thing is money. I'm like, well, there's a lot of other things that matter. And how much money does any given person want? Well, that's different, right? If you just based on living expenses, like if you live in downtown New York City versus in rural West Virginia, well, how much money you need to be happy looks very different, right? Based on what your living style looks like, based on what you want in this life. And that's really what the point of this exercise is. Like, what do you want? Like, you have to figure out like what the hell you want out of all of this in order to figure out what your why is going to be. But then it makes everything very clear. You're like, why you're doing things, why you don't have open gym on Sundays. You don't have any problem telling anybody because like, hey, I value the staff and I want them to be happy and they need to have a day off. So we're closed on Sunday. And if anybody who doesn't like that answer, tough shit. That's what it is. My job is to take care of the staff because they're the ones that come into the gym and need to be happy at this profession so that they can therefore make you happy when you come in here to get the best hour of your day. And I have to be the beholder of that and keep them safe because that is tied to my why. I want to create an opportunity and a career for these people who get to do what they love. And sometimes that means telling other people no.
This is the part of the show where we have a pop culture question for Katie, and she almost always gets them wrong. So Katie.
Thank you. It's good.
Who sang, based on what Fern just said, who sang Can't Buy Me Love?
I don't know.
Like, oh my goodness.
I can Google
every
it.
Every time it's so disappointing. Like, because I believe in you is the thing. I believe in you.
And I break your heart every time.
I want to believe in you.
The Beatles said,
baby. The Beatles.
Can't Buy Me Love.
I think I knew that.
It's actually the one good song they made.
Oh, come on. Money can't buy. But anyway, you're right. Like, there's jokes out there, but it can buy happiness. No, it can't. And I'll tell you this, going back to 2007, when I opened my gym, $36,000 would have been a big downgrade. I was like the best trainer in that area, and I had clients all day long, and I was probably making about six figures, as a trainer. And I was like, well, I hate this. I'm miserable. And all I wanted to do was work. I mean, I was driving, I always lived within my means, and I knew that I was going to, I remember getting my grandmother's Ford Taurus. It was like literally grandma color, like that beigeish color, like
champagne.
And no one but grandma's buy. And it was like a whale of a car.
Yeah, it's the Champagne Lincoln Mark 8.
It had dings all over it because she was like 100 years old and she shouldn't have been driving.
But it was made of steel, so it was safe.
Yeah. But I was like, well, fuck it. Like, I'd rather drive this and do what I love every day. And I think that's a, mistake people make. You're absolutely right. Like, you should be chasing what you love. And I knew enough back then to know, well, like $36,000 is just a pit stop, because if I'm doing what I love, it's a matter of time before this grows. But you have to be willing to stick to your guns on it. And even, when I opened up the gym, people were telling me, $100 is too much to charge, or you need to offer this and you need to do that. I was literally in a racquetball court charging $100 a month. I was like, nope, I'm standing behind this thing.
It's also, and I've learned this, from experience, it also helps you to develop this kind of unique spidey sense with regard to bad ideas or things that don't align, or the bare minimum, you go through some stage of your life where you ignore all of those things, but at the end you can unpack all that and be like, damn, like I definitely did not go by that, and like nothing I was doing there was kind of in alignment or normal, and I have to figure out why. But it does help you to develop this bullshit filter for ideas that will come in, whether it's from clients or from staff or from anybody trying to give you recommendations. And you can kind of vet that and be like, does that feel right? Because I've done a lot of stuff that is what I would now consider to be ill-advised within the business, and made every mistake possible in the book. And I would be, if I was to be just really, really candid, I can't think of any of them when I didn't get that. I just went against my gut feeling. I'm like, this doesn't feel like something that I want to do, or like something that doesn't feel like me. It's like, but maybe this is the secret sauce. Nope, never, ever, not once. I was wrong every single time when I went against it, and it came back to bite me. And so now when those things come up, I'm like, I take a pause and I'm like, does that feel like me? Does that feel like what we do here? Does this feel like something I want to pursue? How am I going to feel about that decision in 10 years? And if the answer is no, and I'm like, nah, get out of here. That sounds gross. I don't want to do that. That sounds miserable. I was just having this conversation today with somebody he reached out to, he's one of our clients, and I feel he's like, I'm going to run these programs for these people, and they made it to the next level. And I was like, well, do you offer those programs? I was like, is that something that you do? And I was like, because if it's not, then I'm not saying you can't, but we should build this out, and it should be something that we put a little bit more thought into, because otherwise we just get into this weird scenario where I offer everything to everybody because they simply ask for it, but it's not anything that I actually enjoy doing. And he was like, you're right. He was like, it's already a nightmare having even started. And I was like, then I think we found our answer. Right. And I could have said, yes, sell that because it'll make money. But that's not the right answer. It's not the right answer for him, which means it's not going to actually be the right answer for the client, because he's not going to do a good job because it's a nightmare, and he's not doing something that he set out to do. And there's a difference between I can do that and I should do that. Right? Like we had we meaning Best Hour, we had kind of toyed with the programming piece, and it's just like we can, and then we very quickly were like, but we shouldn't. Like, I can do that, but I should not.
And here's what that looks like. Often you don't enjoy doing it, right, and B, there's someone doing it better than you anyway. So just refer people to that.
Well, but we were trying to use it, and then we eventually worked our way into something else to get where we wanted to go. And I'm like, oh, we're going to do it. But I was like, the whole time I was like, man, I really want to do some programming, but maybe this is the only way. And then we were like, nope, there's definitely other ways to do that. Let's shit can this idea. And I felt really good about not doing it anymore. But the point was, if you understand what your goal is, what your why is, what it is, the target that you're shooting at, what you would like to get out of that, and what the desired outcome is, well, then it becomes very easy for these red flags to pop up, right? Like, it's no different than like use nutrition's an easy one. You're like, I'm going to get my nutrition together, right? Like, hey, I'm going to avoid, refined carbohydrates. I'm going to stop drinking, right? Because that is my goal. And then you go out and people they're like, oh, come on, you can have one beer. That's fine. Well, you know what you're doing when you do it. Like, the red flags go up. It just wasn't necessarily like you weren't ready yet, or that really wasn't what you wanted to do. Because if it was, you'd be like, nope, I'm good. Thank you though. I'll take a seltzer water, right? That's fine. And you wouldn't feel bad about it is the point. You'd be like, no, I feel totally fine with this decision. Like, I'm good with it. Like, I don't need that. And if you're going to push me into this and you're really going to give me a hard time about it, well, then we have something to discuss.
Yeah. I mean, we're a great example of that, right? Like, we hang out. I rarely, if ever, drink around you. You've never really given me, you give me shit about a lot of things. You don't often give me shit about that. And I'm not like in recovery or anything. For me, it's just like, well, when I drink, I don't sleep well. And when I don't sleep well, I'm cranky as fuck the next day.
Right.
And I do a shitty job.
And well, I also know that's something I actually truly know. Like, that's something that's very important to you. Like, I'm not going to push that button. I'll push all the other ones because it's just fun. But I'm not going to push that one because I know what the outcome will be. The outcome will be you're not going to change your mind. So now I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah, or I do drink and I'm naked very quickly. And
which nobody wants to see. Right. Not even
Katie,
your wife.
do you want to see?
Not even your wife.
I definitely don't want to see that.
Not even your wife. But the whole point of this is like, it is a valuable exercise. But I think in order for people to really get themselves in alignment, perfect example, like the tweet. Dude,
Which
there's
tweet? You have to be a little more.
There's only one.
More
tweet.
specific.
There's only one tweet, right? You and I decided we're like, listen, we're not abandoning the ship, right? Because
isn't it funny? Like, we didn't even have to really talk about it.
We didn't talk about it. We were just like, fuck no. And it wasn't because we were in agreement with what would happen. It was because what we truly believed in was that the impact that CrossFit could have was far and away going to survive this incident. And we were not going to abandon ship for this thing that we spent basically our whole adult lives trying to learn and master and be a part of because of this thing. And I think there was a lot
further, actually.
And I think there was a lot of people. Hold on. There's a lot of people that you saw just very quickly just pivot without thought.
They were off the boat. They were off the boat before send was even hit.
Right. And off the reservation. And that ended up creating problems for a lot of people. And I'm not mad at them. Right. But that's an example of like, it wasn't even a question. The answer was no, not going anywhere. Right.
But I want to go one step further. That happened. Within a day, we were on a call podcasting. It's out there somewhere.
Right.
With like 4 people of color talking about the negative impact and what we can do to help. Right. Like, it wasn't even like we're not abandoning ship. We were like, what can we do to right this ship?
Correct. And I think that is an example of that, which is if it's truly ingrained and it's truly what you believe in, the scenario doesn't matter. But if it is truly in your why, the scenario doesn't matter. Now, there's obviously things that can change where, if something is now no longer at all in alignment with what you're at, well, then, okay, then change it. But again, it will be based in that very strong, deeply rooted belief. And I think that's what people need to think about. And that's the importance of the why. That's the importance of doing that and figuring out what your why is, because what the outcome is. And there's a process, right? And we take people through this all the time and regularly get feedback like, this is totally different than any other way I've done it. And I'm like, right, because this is the not the best way, but this is a better way to do it. And people feel better about that. And before we even get into coaching some of the nuances of the business, they already start making better decisions based on that. They're like, yeah, this doesn't work anymore. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm like, right, because we got clear on some things. And now we can move forward. And if we're not clear on anything, then it's really hard to make decisions on anything. Again, you can always rewind it back to like the most seemingly mundane things. Are we going to have a 6 p.m. class? Are we going to split this class in half? Like, what? Like, are we going to do a noon class? Like, what? Are we going to sell nutritional advice? Like, whatever. It can all be directly pointed back at that thing. It might not be a straight line, but it's not hard to connect the dots.
I know you wrote something special for this episode. Would you like to read it?
I don't know. Do I want to read it?
You want me to read it?
I don't know if I want you to read my words. It sounds terrifying.
I actually have something to add. I waited to the end, so if we want to cut it out.
Is it the Beatles? Does it have anything to do with the Beatles?
No, it's not related to the Beatles. It's related to this whole conversation.
You want to apologize for not knowing the greatest rock band? John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Lou.
My dad would.
I just want to say, Lou, your dad. Something went wrong during Katie's childhood. Yeah. If she does not know who the Beatles were,
he would be very disappointed. But that's not what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
What I was going to say is this reminds me of in college, we read a book by a guy named Peter Drucker. He does like management by objectives. It was a business book. And he asked the question, what do you want to be remembered for? And he said, the whole point of that question is you ask it of yourself in your 20s, and then you ask it continually throughout your life. And it's supposed to help guide your why. And going back to what Fern, you said about how you have a gut feeling in the kind of negative when you know something might not be the right decision, it can also be in the affirmative. And I just thought about when I started CrossFit, I didn't know what it was, but I knew like I had a gut feeling it was the right decision. And so then continuing down that path, continuing to say yes to things in the affirmative led me to you guys. And who would have, truly though, like who would have thought I could have done that this would be a full-time job, and I had no idea what I was working towards, but when you say yes to the right things too, it can bring you in the right path.
That's a great example, Katie.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
It's awesome that
thank you for sharing that.
It's awesome that we are allowing you to live your why.
Yes. Thank you for letting me do this.
God, if you guys ever want to know what our team meetings are like, this is it. There's not a
and you're also fired. So unfortunately for you, you're no longer living your why.
Not a serious bone in the body.
That's disappointing.
So, all right. So I'll share this, and this is going to be
tearjerker.
No, but I will be.
Get your tissues ready, people.
So no, you won't. So, and I wrote this, and this isn't my why, but I think it would give people an insight into why this whole thing is important. So, 10 years. It took me 10 years of running my own gym before I sat down and really put some thought into this question. I'm not referring to the elevator pitch version of this we all have. Pro tip: I want to help people is not your why. It's a good thought, but it isn't your why. And for the record, I paid a lot of money to a mentor to have that worked out many times over the years to help me figure this out. Some people can do it. Most need someone to help guide them through this exercise. And it should be treated exactly like exercise. It will be hard. In my personal experience, there are two pieces to a successful determination of your why. One, what is it? Two, how to cast the vision. Most people don't know that I was the executive director of 31 Heroes Project for almost 3 years. Nonprofit work is insanely hard, and it is to date the hardest job I ever had for a litany of reasons. But one of the major lessons I learned there was that the power of being able to cast a vision, or more directly, not being able to cast a vision. If there is a grade lower than F, that is what I would give myself. I'm confident that we made the right decisions while I was there, but the right decisions poorly communicated can be just as detrimental as wrong decisions. This usually happens because of the why or vision isn't clearly defined or understood. This takes time, should be thoughtful and critical, and it shouldn't be easy. It requires a massive amount of reflection and decluttering. Understanding your why, along with the power of being able to cast a vision, make up a winning equation. You can have success for a while with only one, but it won't stand the test of time or any significant event. It's no different than lifting weights and avoiding gymnastics. You will get fitter, but when the open comes around, you'll be in trouble. I will give some thoughts that should help with your why. One, it's okay if it feels selfish at first. Two, it needs to still apply when you're 90 years old. Three, it should simultaneously serve you and those around you. Four, it shouldn't be specific. Five, it should be something that helps guide your decision-making process. There are endless exercises you can find to help guide through this process. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which one you choose to do. It's no different than programming. What matters most is intention and how you execute it, not who wrote it. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.